For the last couple years, I've faced this strange problem where I feel comfortable in front of the camera to varying degrees, and most of the time when I get in front of the camera, I'm hit by this sense of urgency. Like I have to get the words out, I have to say things quickly and succinctly, and the entire time I'll just feel so physically uncomfortable. And some of the vlogs that I've made, for me at least, like it definitely shows in some of them. I think the audience will think that I just didn't have notes in front of me, which is true. In those videos, I did not have notes in front of me. Or I didn't do retakes, which is true. In those videos, I didn't do retakes. Uh, but there's also something deeper going on that's making it harder for me to find my words or to remember certain aspects of a story, or, and this usually happens and more often in these kinds of videos, uh, certain uh, pieces of an argument that I'm trying to construct for like a higher concept type video. I'm most likely to fumble it in a video like that because the stakes feel higher, and I'll just feel uncomfortable the whole time. And the weird thing is, I did not used to have this sort of problem. And I don't seem to have the problem as much when my face isn't in the video. And I think that the reason for that is because when I'm looking at myself in the camera, it's like I'm looking at another person. And the same thing that happens when I socialize happens when I'm trying to record the video, which is, it's this feeling where the presence of another person is so overstimulating that I just lose my ability to find the words. And I don't have this with like people I'm really comfortable around that I've known for years, that I spend a lot of time around, but I certainly have it around strangers or people that I've just met. I get this strange thing where it's not like I just feel uncomfortable around them. It's like there's this sense of urgency and panic and anxiety and just this undercurrent that something is wrong. Like something just feels really wrong. And like I want to get out of there. And when I'm recording the videos that have my face in them and I'm looking directly at myself and I'm trying to imagine that I'm talking to a person so I can be more personable and with it on camera and entertaining, it ends up having this strange effect on me where I can almost act like the way that I do in person. That is to say that I become riddled with anxiety and my speech has this like sense of urgency to it, and I'll forget crucial details or just be a little awkward or not get things out in the way that I intended, all the while still carrying the practice cadences that I've spent a lot of time thinking about and rehearsing. The actual words themselves won't come out right because it won't be the right words, or certain things will be omitted by accident. And so, even though my cadence doesn't necessarily indicate that this is what's going on inside my mind, my words will indicate that if you're me and you know what I had intended to say, which obviously members of an audience on a YouTube video won't have that kind of perspective. But I will, and I'll be watching back the video and be thinking, oh my God, like why can't I just put it all together? Why couldn't I just say things the way that I meant to. And it can be tremendously frustrating for me. I went out to the store the other day and I was trying to grab all my groceries after they had been bagged up. And the woman was trying to hand me the receipt, and there's no way for me to reenact it, but I swear to you, I picked up that receipt in the most awkward way ever. It was like my head was tilted and I like looked so confused. But inside of my head, it felt like little bombs were going off. Like being in this environment just did not sit right with me. And that's an environment that I regularly frequent. I go to the grocery store all the time. I go outside all the time. And I still feel like this. I'll still feel like there's little mines that I just stepped on that just blew up right behind me, or that there's shrapnel, you know, just grazing my ear. It's this really like weird, uncomfortable feeling just being outside around these other people. And sometimes when I'm recording videos, particularly the ones with face cam, uh, I'll feel like that as well. And it will reduce the quality of the videos. It'll make it harder to record. And I don't like it. I hate that feeling. You know, now my favorite places to go in the whole world are empty liminal spaces. You know, or these big, normally populated areas, these areas that were built to contain a large number of people, entirely empty. Back during COVID, I could actually go to many of these places, airports, bus stations, um, stores, and I could traverse the area unburdened by all of this internal noise that I tend to feel on, I was about to say on the inside. I mean, it's on the inside, it's internal, but uh yeah, all of this uncomfortable stuff will just be gone when I'm in those spaces. It's like I can actually enjoy the spaces because I'm not so burdened by the way that being around all these people makes me feel, that very overstimulated feeling. And I think that's a good way to put it. It's like you're stimulated in the mind, but too much. It feels like your synapses are firing, but too much, like they're firing on all cylinders or something. It's a terrible, terrible feeling. And of course, historically, this has made me retreat into my room more and stay in there for months and years and not face my problems. Of course, I don't do that anymore, and I tried my best to stop doing that and to get on the right path, you know, starting that process even a couple years ago. But it's been a very steady and uphill climb. It's been very, very difficult because as I'm trying to express, I still feel this way. I'm still having these issues. I'm still I'm still feeling like I was born on the wrong planet, or like I was just dropped into this world that was designed in a way that is fundamentally opposed to everything that I am. Everything from the sights, the sounds, the smells, to the people. All of it is so difficult for me to live with. I go outside and there's loud noises everywhere, and the loud noises make me feel sick and nauseated and just unwell and sometimes dizzy. You know, there have been times when a car was loud enough to put me into a dizzy spell. You know, when I was young and they had to send me in for MRIs, they would have to stop the MRI because the loud sound would make me cry so much. I just start crying, and sometimes, I would actually, hit a part of my body or the surface nearby uncontrollably, seemingly at least, just because it was so physically painful, the loud noise. And there's a lot of noises like that exist just out in public. People's loud, music from certain lactose intolerant people's lawnmowers, cars, and so on. It's just, there's nothing wrong with y'all having a bit of fun. I understand that, but it's not fun for me. And that's what makes it difficult, is because the whole world, it was designed in this way. People behave this way, but I wasn't designed in this way. I don't behave in this way. But it's like I'm in their world, I'm not in my world. So I go out in it and I have a real difficult time. And that's just sound. That's not to say anything of all the various lights, and even just the brightness of the sun sometimes, if it's bright enough, but more often than not, it's artificial lights that are beaming all over the place, all the headlights, all of the people moving, and not even just people moving, but just the various things that are moving. For example, in a city, all of that information is information that I have to process. It's sensory data that I have to process. And sometimes it can be so much that I will just get sick. Like, I'll just feel sick. It was part of why, in some of the times when I visited big cities, I literally wouldn't leave the house without being drunk or being on some other kind of depressant, because I didn't know how else to leave the house. Like, I would literally just get sick unless I had something like that to get me at my baseline calmer, And a lot of that had to do with like visual stimulation. And then of course there's the people, and that's a whole extra thing to tack onto it, because the presence of those other people, I don't know, it almost feels like there's like a force field around them. Like, imagine like I'm over at the doorway of a building, like I just got through, right? And there's 10 people, in my field of view. I can see them. And they're like varying distances from me, but depending on how close I am to them, the worse they're going to make me feel. And that, like, when I get closer to them, it's like my body or my spirit or something is grazing a force field that exists around that person that's making me uncomfortable. It's like I'm in their bubble or something. Even though I'm not in their bubble, I'm like right outside their bubble. They don't even notice me, but it's like I can feel that they're there. Like, I can physically, on some very physiological and psychological level, I can feel that they're there, and it makes me feel unwell. Like, how do you even begin to explain something like that? I don't know. And it's a miracle that I've been able to hold jobs for as long as I did, which is, by the way, not very long. Like, every job I've had, I don't know, I think the longest I've ever had a job is 3 months? Like, I've never been able to hold a job for very long. And a lot of it has to do with this exact problem. This overload that I feel, and sometimes I just shut down. Like, there have been days when I had to leave work early because being around the other people, the day was so busy, I literally I couldn't talk, I couldn't think, I just had to leave. And this is also part of why, I've preferred to work, for example, hotels, because you don't really have to interact with other people. You're more on your own. And oftentimes there's not even people in the hallways. The worst part about those jobs is when you actually have to interact with customers or with your teammates or with people in the lobby. I would just put on these just terrible, frightening smiles just by accident. It's not like I was trying to seem threatening. I was trying to seem friendly. And I just had the most awkward looks ever on my face because I was trying so hard to force myself to engage and interact with people, and I could tell that those people were off-put by me. I would be off-put by me too. I probably seemed like I was in a lot of pain just for even having to be around them. And that is how I would summarize like the experience of having a job. I wish that there was some job where it's entry level and I just don't have to ever interact with anyone. Where I could just be completely on my own. That would be like a dream for me, right? I don't like talking to people. It's like the most that I ever enjoyed the talking to people aspects of work like that was just when I was strung out on benzos. You take those while you're working and you get all your work done, and you don't care even remotely, about all the different people. You're more than happy to talk to them. It's crazy, man. Of course I don't do that stuff anymore. I haven't in, a fair bit, a while, but that was what I tried doing in order to cope with the grind, the experience of making money. It's hard, man. It's hard. And I don't know if this is related to autism. I don't know if it's autism plus another thing. But on some fundamental level, it feels like the world was not designed for me, or I was not designed for this world. And I've been trying again and again to integrate and to do things without leaning on those substances that I talked a little bit about earlier. And I've been grinding away at trying to do everything above board in the legit way, and still just feeling terrible, through the whole process. It's not like I'm going to give up. I'm going to keep trying. I've got to keep trying. I don't have another choice. But it's extremely difficult.